guys, welcome back to my new channel, documenting the destruction of democracy in the United States. I know that this must be strange for those of you who preferred my old videos where I would just discuss science and critical thinking, but those concepts don't exist here anymore, so I'm working with what I've got. Okay, I'm just kidding. I swear I'm going to try my best to remain focused on science and critical thinking, the areas I've been focused on for 2 decades. It's just that, unfortunately, things are so bleak here now that I think it's morally incumbent on everyone who has a platform to talk about what's going on, either to help wake up those who don't realize, to reassure the most at-risk people that they aren't alone, or just to document things for future historians, aliens perhaps, evolved dolphins. With that in mind, today I want to discuss the absolutely terrifying recent development of the Trump administration disappearing a permanent resident of the United States because of his speech. Free speech is something that I've discussed a lot over the years because it is a central right that protects people like me who criticize quacks and frauds. I've received many threats over the years from charlatans who say that they're going to sue me for defamation because I've pointed out their lies. And I'm very lucky that thus far I've been protected by very good lawyers and very good anti-slap laws here in the various states that I've lived in. Not everybody is as lucky as me, which is why when I lived in England, I worked with people like Simon Singh to help improve the libel laws there. Badly written libel laws are so convenient to con artist bullies that Donald Trump even spent much of his first term threatening to screw up the federal libel laws here in the United States, which don't actually exist. The good news is that Trump is no longer threatening to do that. The bad news is what Trump is actually doing is so much worse for free speech that it's in another universe of bad. Mahmoud Khalil is a legal permanent resident here in the United States, and last year he gained prominence during the student protests at Columbia University, calling upon that school to divest from Israel in light of Israel's continued genocide against the Palestinian people. Khalil, a grad student there, helped lead the negotiations between the student groups and the university. As reported by Forward, following a protest last week, Zionists contacted Secretary of State Marco Rubio and asked that Khalil be deported for his views. Again, Khalil is in the United States legally. He is married to a United States citizen. He is a permanent resident with a green card. Generally, for a permanent resident to be deported, they would have to have committed some kind of awful crime. Khalil has not, or at least there is no evidence that he's done anything other than use his constitutional right to peacefully protest against an ongoing genocide and his own university's complicity in that genocide. And not for nothing, but even if Khalil had committed a crime, he is still owed due process where, the United States would have to prove that he committed that crime before beginning the process of deportation. The Zionist campaign led to Khalil getting a flood of death threats, and as Zeteo reported, he begged Columbia for help, sending an email saying, "Since yesterday, I have been subjected to a vicious, coordinated, and dehumanizing doxing campaign led by Columbia affiliates Shai Davide and David Lederer, who, among others, have labeled me a security threat and called for my deportation. Their attacks have incited a wave of hate, including calls for my deportation and death threats. I have outlined the wider context below, yet Columbia has not provided any meaningful support or resources in response to this escalating threat. I haven't been able to sleep, fearing that ICE or a dangerous individual might come to my home. I urgently need legal support, and I urge you to intervene and provide the necessary protections to prevent further harm." The very next day, ICE, who are dangerous individuals, took Khalil into custody, telling him that they were revoking his student visa. Khalil explained that he actually had a green card, which confused them because ICE agents are fucking morons, which is why they're ICE agents in the first place. But then they just shrugged and said, well, we're going to revoke your green card too. Even Khalil's lawyer and pregnant wife had no idea where he was for 24 hours after he was detained. Eventually, though, he was located at a facility in Louisiana. Seems real nice. Trump and his cronies declared this a huge success, admitting that Khalil was targeted specifically because of his constitutionally protected speech. In a statement Sunday, the spokesperson of the Department of Homeland Security said Khalil led activities aligned to Hamas, a designated terrorist organization. Obviously, that means absolutely nothing. He has zero connection to Hamas. And so the only thing they can do is say his protest is aligned to them, because both he and Hamas would like Israel to stop butchering Palestinians, I guess. As of this recording, Khalil's lawyer is desperately trying to stop his deportation, and I hope she can. But Trump has explicitly said that this is just the beginning, that there will be many more arrests to come. On Monday, he wrote, "We will find, apprehend, and deport these terrorist sympathizers from our country, never to return again. If you support terrorism, including the slaughtering of innocent men, women, and children, your presence is contrary to our national and foreign policy interests, and you are not welcome here. We expect every one of America's colleges and universities to comply." Here's the part where I declare a conflict of interest. I would care deeply about this even if I was not going to be affected at all, even if my loved ones had no chance of being affected. But I do maybe have a little skin in the game. I am married to a permanent resident, just like Khalil. Back in November, we both knew that this was a possibility, so we sat down and came up with a plan. Where is our line in the sand? We are two privileged white people with a home we love in a blue state, so we knew we were pretty safe. We wouldn't be first. We knew that that would be undocumented immigrants, of course. We decided that when they started deporting the more marginalized permanent residents, that's the big red flag telling us it's time to make plans to leave for our own safety. So here we are, I guess. It was weird enough having that conversation back in November, and it's downright surreal to have a follow-up just 4 months later where we actually need to decide, okay, what are we going to do if Khalil is deported? And what do we do if he's not deported, but somebody else gets disappeared next? Because, yeah, I'm an incredibly privileged middle-class white lady, but as Adam Sewer notes in The Atlantic, Khalil is Trump's trial run to see what he can get away with. The idea that Khalil's views might have serious adverse foreign policy consequences for the United States is an obvious pretext for expelling him, and a message to others who might hold or express similar beliefs, he writes. Trumpists simply do not approve of his politics and have therefore resorted to using the power of the state to deport him. Trump has styled himself a champion of free speech, but this is what Trumpists mean by free speech. You can say what Trumpists want you to say, or you can be punished. And that's what we've been fighting against for years when it comes to bad libel laws. Those bad laws don't only unjustly punish the people who have less money than the quacks who target them, they also stifle free speech due to the self-censorship that will inevitably occur when, for instance, a science communicator sees a quack bankrupt another science communicator for speaking the truth. Now it's so much worse. Censor yourself or be disappeared. And I'm not only talking about your opinions when it comes to Israel's genocide, which is still ongoing, by the way, and has only increased in cruelty, as this week they cut off electricity to the 2 million people in Gaza, shutting down the desalination plants and thereby cutting off a crucial supply of fresh water. Yes, pointing that out is now grounds to be disappeared, apparently, but that is not where Trump will stop. Do you think crypto rug pulls are a scam? Well, sounds like you are undermining the new currency of the United States. Maybe you're a Chinese agent. Have you ever stated that vaccines do not cause autism? Well, RFK Jr. may think that you're threatening national security by exposing children to dangerous chemicals. Are you boycotting Tesla because it's owned by Elon Musk? Well, Trump thinks you're a domestic terrorist. No, seriously.
Some say they should be labeled domestic terrorists.
I will do that. I'll do it. I'm going to stop them. We catch anybody doing it because they're harming a great American company. I've stuck up for the NFL. I've stuck up for a lot of American companies and other companies, but American companies. I did a very big favor for the NFL. I do favors for all of them. When you heard an American company, especially a company like this, supplies so many jobs that others are unable to do, when you do that, those people are going to go through a big problem when we catch them. And we have you got a lot of cameras up. We already know who some of them are. We're going to catch them. And they're bad guys. They're the same guys that screw around with our schools and universities, the same garbage. And we're going to catch them. And let me tell you, you do it to Tesla and you do it to any company, we're going to catch you and you're going to go through hell.
Do you think that Russia invaded Ukraine and should be stopped? Elon Musk says you're a traitor. No, literally, he called Mark Kelly, former astronaut and current senator, a traitor for saying that Ukraine deserves our help. Treason is, of course, punishable by death here in the United States. If you care about freedom of speech, you should care about what happens to Khalil. 14 congressional representatives have just signed a letter demanding his release. Let your representatives know that you want their names on it. Learn your rights when it comes to immigration while those rights still exist, and help your neighbors learn those rights by printing off convenient flyers and posting them around your neighborhood. Wear a mask when you go to protests, and also when you go to shop for groceries, because COVID is still a thing. And if you are like me and you still have a good deal of safety and comfort, please do not self-censor, because as the more marginalized people are forced into silence one way or the other, it becomes morally incumbent upon the rest of us to speak up for them. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you loved the video, please subscribe. And if you think the world could use more videos like this and you happen to have a few bucks laying around, head to patreon.com/Rebecca and join an awesome community of nerds like the people whose names you see on the screen right now. Thanks.